Today I'd like to show you my FAL, also known as Fusil Automatique Léger, which means light automatic weapon. It is made by the Belgian manufacturer FN, meaning Fabrique Nationale, and it was designed from 1947 and entered service in 1953. It should be considered the counterpart to the AKM, so all the Warsaw Pact countries had the AKM, and this kind of was the response of NATO countries, or the West, to get some kind of shared weapon platform. And this is the British version, so this particular rifle is known as the L1A1, and it uses imperial measurements, which for some weird reason the Brits decided to change the metrical measurements into their own, meaning that the magazine and the buttstock, to my knowledge, aren't interchangeable to other FALs. So this is a rather long rifle, as you can see. The barrel length is 55.4 centimeters or 21.8 inches, and it weighs in about 4.3 kilos. So first of all, let's look at the rifle in detail, and then I'll talk about the modifications I did to this particular rifle and what role it fulfills. First of all, this rifle, such as most of the FALs, use 308, so 7.62 by 51, and it is fed from these 20 or 30 round magazines. I wasn't able to source any 30 round mags using the imperial measurement. Interesting enough, I do have a mag that says it's from an L2A1, which is a light machine gun version of the L1A1, which just consists of an integrated bipod in the handguard, a thicker barrel, and the ability to use full auto. And using some Google, those should use 30 round mags, but I have this one, which is a 20 rounder too. Now let's look at the ergonomics. The mags are inserted using this little mag well here on one side, so they're very AK-like. Kind of rock them in, and you remove them using this paddle, which has fairly decent ergonomics, as long as you're not a lefty, because on the left side you can't really engage this tab. Furthermore, the safety or fire selection is performed using your thumb, so very comfy. You can just reach up, put it into fire, put it into safe. Obviously fully autos have a third option, and this is nice because I can keep my finger on the trigger while operating the safety itself or choosing the fire mode. The bolt is operated like following. There's this charging handle which folds down, so when I charge the rifle and let the bolt fly forward, it actually folds down again. So this is nice because it's on the left side, it doesn't snag on your gear, but you kind of lose some time to fold this upwards. And as far as I know, most of the other FALs just have a fixed charging handle, so I actually prefer this, so it doesn't really snag or get caught on anything causing malfunctions. The FAL should have a last round bolt hold open. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work most of the time on mine. It's kind of temperamental. I think it has to do with its age. Maybe the spring, maybe the mags are bad, I'm not quite sure. But I can engage it manually by pushing this up. So now you can see the bolt holds in the rearward position. The charging handle now floats around freely, and it's just stuck in the rear position. And by pressing down, I can now engage the bolt to come forward. So that's the operation. Let me show you how it looks like when I rack the bolt itself. Interesting. So now let's look at the other features of this rifle. First of all, the front side is pretty decent, has two wings that protect it. Close to that front side we have the adjustable gas system, where I can change how much gas is vented back into the rifle. So depending on the ammo I'm using or how dirty the rifle is, I can adjust that. Really nice feature to have. Going forward, we have this fixed muzzle device, which has a lug for bayonet usage. Unfortunately, I do not have a compatible bayonet, and using a sling can be done using this front loop, which rotates, and the loop in the back of the buttstock which looks like the following. Interesting enough, there's a carry handle, so when I'm moving I could use this carry handle too. Very funny design in my opinion. When you use a scope, obviously it's in the way, so I always have it folded down. Also folding it up can cause malfunctions since the spent casings can bounce back and cause some trouble. So my critique point of the L1A1 is the rear sight, and as you can tell has a teeny tiny hole, which isn't very fun to use. It also needs to be flipped up, and the whole thing is very flimsy, so it's a bit wobbly. You can set it up, you can push it forwards or backwards depending on the distance, and then flip it down when it's not in use. So very flimsy design. I really do not like it. Field stripping the rifle, however, is very easy. You have this one lever here, you push it down, the whole thing breaks into two parts, very similar to, let's say, ARs. And another interesting thing is, talking about ARs, the recoil spring or the return spring is in the buttstock, so you can see this part here. This is a big spring in the buttstock itself, and it engages using this little guy on the bolt assembly. As soon as I kind of break it apart, the bolt can be removed. So this has a tilting design very similar to an SVT40, which was used around that time, so maybe that was an inspiration. So now that's how you remove the bolt. You can now clean the barrel. Very easy field stripping. If we look at the gas system, very easy to take apart too. Push here and rotate, and then I can remove this gas port, remove the gas piston with its spring. So it's a short stroke. This hits somewhere here, then causes the whole thing to cycle. So cleaning, really easy to do. So cleaning is a fairly easy thing to do. There is one pin which can be removed to further disassemble the rifle, but for field stripping this is not required. So in order to enable this DMR roll, meaning hitting targets further away, it was important for me to have some kind of bipod, and I did that with a very budget-friendly option, namely adding a barrel clamp which interfaces via Picatinny to this bipod, and that just allows me to get steady shots and further distances. So the second very important upgrade to this rifle was the ability of mounting optics, which isn't a thing with factory FALs. So this is done by replacing the dust cover, and I used this one made by DSA. It's way more rigid than the original dust cover, has a Picatinny on top, and is mounted by multiple points to the low receiver, which then gives you something that really will hold zero. It has one downside, that thorough cleaning requires you to usually remove the dust cover, and this isn't possible now because it's, as I said, attached with Loctite screws, but field stripping and regular cleaning isn't impacted. Now with this Picatinny rail, I thought, which optic should I add? And in order to fulfill this DMR role, I picked a Vortex Strike Eagle, an LPVO. It's not the best LPVO you can get, but judging by the ballistics or the accuracy I measured while using it with iron sights and actual match ammo, it is plenty of performance for this not very accurate rifle per se. So the LPVO allows me to use 6 times magnifications or anything between to hit things further away, but also in closer quarters enables me to use it in 1x magnification or no magnification, which is a lot better than the iron sights themselves and actually faster to acquire. So if you use LPVOs, you might know that the higher you magnify, the smaller your box will get where you can actually see through the scope. And in order to kind of mitigate this, I added this cheek rest just because it's A, more comfy, and B, fits my chin very well. So I put my face right here and I'm automatically at the right spot, so I can look through the scope even with higher magnifications, so I don't have to search the reticle. And this is actually from AliExpress. It's a very cheap solution, but it works very well. So it just mounts to the buttstock. It has a pocket here for whatever documents or scope settings you might want to add, but I don't really use it. It's just very comfy and cheap solution to get the perfect ergonomics for this LPVO, which sits a lot higher than the iron sights. So after adding these 3 upgrades, I increased the effective range of this rifle, and also the closer quarter combat is improved by the LPVO over these iron sights. And I think it's a really neat package. If you have any questions, please let me know. And as always, stay safe and have fun.